Hello and welcome back to the channel. So, the weekend is fast approaching, which means one thing and one thing only. We're playing Man United at Old Trafford on Sunday. So, in preparation of that, what I'd like to do is my match review, where I'm going to take a look at what I predict to be the starting lineup. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't expect any changes, so that's going to be quite easy. But also how I think Liverpool are going to play, the way I think the game's going to go, and also what I think are going to be the important parts of the fixture. So what I'm going to do is take us over to the tactic board and show you here on screen what I think will be the starting lineup. I'll be honest with you, I don't expect any changes. I think we'll have the exact same team that started against Brentford, and I think that will also include probably the same bench as well. I know Chiesa is in the club now, but I don't imagine Chiesa starting, to be honest, and I don't imagine him being on the bench either. I think it might come a little bit too soon for him. I don't think he's played any games for Juventus so far, including pre-season, so he'll need to get up to speed with things, get used to Slot's system and how we're going to play. So I imagine there'll be no real changes there. So think about the game, and it's one of the ones where constantly going backwards and forwards in my head, because this game, I imagine it's going to be the same for a lot of Liverpool fans. It has that certain ability to make you feel both nervous and excited at the same time. Nervous because you just can't predict what's going to happen in a derby, but excited because obviously the memories of the 5-0 at Old Trafford or the 7-0 before at Anfield. And also I do think that this is a massive game for both teams, not only because it's the derby against each other, but also because where both teams are currently in terms of their season, this game means so much to both teams in different ways. So you think for Liverpool, for example, the opening game fixture against Ipswich, the first half wasn't great, but the second half was a vast improvement. And with that opening game of the season, I think it doesn't necessarily matter how you perform. You just need to get the results out the way. Opening game, we're still bringing players back. Players like Diaz he'd had one pre-season friendly, for example. McAllister the same, Van Dijk the same, Trent the same, and so on and so forth. So the result was more important than the way that we played. The second game against Brentford was much better. Although the result was the same, Brentford, in my opinion, are much harder opposition. Obviously, Premier League, they've got the knowledge of it. They understand how, the rigours of the Premier League. They're tough. They're physical side. They're difficult to break down. Yet I think the way that we played it, we made it look relatively comfortable. Going 2-0 up and then just playing keep ball, essentially, is, exactly what you want from your opening games. 2 games, 2 wins, 2 goals scored in both of them, 0 goals conceded. Brilliant. But the test against Man United is going to be a real sort of yardstick where we can measure where we are. Obviously, if we win, everything looks great. Slot ball's fantastic. We can start to then really look forward to the rest of the season and what's going to happen, testing ourselves against those bigger teams, those teams that we are going to be expecting to fight for top 6 and top 4. If we lose this game, then it will suggest where work is needed. Are we ready to not only just challenge, but if we lose this game, can we really say that, we're just going to cement third space? Are we going to be in a battle for top 4? And then likewise for Man U, their opening games haven't been great. Again, against Fulham, I don't think they played very well, but the most important thing in that opening game is getting the result. And then the second game against Brighton, whilst I admit I didn't watch the full game, I listened to it on the radio because I was driving, and I've seen replays and highlights and so on, and I've listened to Man United fans talking about it. There was an improvement in their performance, but they didn't get the result. So this game for them is massive because it's a chance for them to get back on track. It's a chance for them to, get that win. And a win against your rivals is always something that can spur you on. So I think it's a massively important game for both teams. And I think that what's going to be the most interesting fact is not necessarily just how Liverpool play. I think we can kind of assume that the way that we're going to play. But how are Man U going to play? Are they going to look to play the same way? Are they going to look to, they're at Old Trafford, so they're going to look to try and dominate the ball, dominate possession, force us onto the back foot? Or are they going to be looking to, accepting that we're going to have more of the possession than them? Are they going to look to counter-attack us, hit us on the break and play, tough tackles in the centre of midfield, close us down, that kind of play, that kind of formation? So I think that's going to be interesting. But I'm not a Man U fan channel, so I'm here to talk about Liverpool and how I think we're going to play. I think Brentford and Ipswich, I think those games gave us a lot of ideas of how we're going to feature in this game. I do think that whilst in both games there has been minor tweaks, especially at half time, with the way that we sort of set up in defence and the way that we build up from the back, I think it'll be kind of similar here. I do see us taking sort of more of this sort of formation where these two players are coming in more and we're kind of building with this. I think against Man U, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw McAllister dropping back quite a lot to kind of create this box in the middle with Trent and Robertson also coming in to give those passing options, to give those triangles. I can see that happening from the very start. And then I can also see, for example, us building a lot of our play on the right. So we know the way Liverpool like to build up. We keep possession, we recycle the ball, so we'll be looking for these little passes between sort of the back four. You know, if Virgil's got the ball, for example, we'll see Alisson moving into these positions to give another passing option. It wouldn't surprise me to see Konate spreading out a little bit more with Trent coming a bit more in the middle. McAllister pushing up. So we're starting to build a bit more like this. And we'll see us doing that a lot. Getting the ball in defence, recycling the ball, keeping possession, trying to frustrate Man United with the way that we're going to play. One other thing I think we'll see again, very similar to the shape here, is Liverpool building up on the right-hand side. I can see Salah dropping into here. I can see Szoboszlai dropping into here, Trent, and then us creating this overload on this right-hand side whilst leaving Diaz free and again pushing Robertson that bit further up here so that we're going to basically force Man United to play on our side of the pitch and then look for that switch out to Diaz and then let's see what Diaz can do against their fullback. Those kind of plays wouldn't surprise me. I think that that's how we will line up. I think that that's how we will play the game. I think we'll look to... I think the days of the 5-0 at Old Trafford or the 7-0, I don't think we'll see those anytime soon. I think whilst, you know, Man U still aren't at that sort of glory days of Man U, they're not at their best, you know, I think that they've probably learnt a lot from that game. And I can't see a world where Ten Hag is like, oh, we're losing the game, everyone still push forward, and then we're able to just pick them apart and score more and more goals. At the same time, I also don't see Slot playing that way. I think Slot is very, you know, he's much more sort of methodical in the way that he plays. And if Liverpool were to get a 2-0 lead, I can see us doing exactly the same thing that we've done against Brentford. I can see us playing a lot of keep ball. I can see us frustrating them with our passes, knocking it round 1 and 2 touch, just keeping the ball, taking the sting out of the game, and then we'd be more than happy to go home with a 2-0 win. I also think the same would be true if we were, say, winning 1-0 going in towards, you know, the final minutes of the game. Rather than try and push for that second goal, I can see Slot saying, okay, just keep the ball. Let's just, you know, we don't need to go gung-ho to try and get a second. We're already winning. Let's just keep that. So I think that that's kind of what I see the game going like. What I do see from Man U is them pressing. The interesting thing for Man U is not just so much the way that they're going to play against us, but it's also what lineup they're going to go for. Do they stick with Harry Maguire, given, you know, the mistakes that he made against Brighton? Do they stick with the false 9 with Bruno Fernandes playing up front? Or do they bring in De Ligt? Do they bring in Xerxes? Do we start to see their new signings start for them? Because the way that they line up will suggest a lot about the way they play. So, for example, what I can see is if they're playing Xerxes, him trying to get himself involved in a battle with Konate and Virgil. So if I just move these players back, I can see, I can see Xerxes getting physical, getting involved in a battle, battling with Virgil, battling with Konate. I can see that that's going to be something that will happen. I can also see Rashford looking to exploit any gaps that's left behind by Trent. So if we do see Trent pushing into this position or even breaking forward where we have the opportunity, I can see Rashford really taking the opportunity to try and break down this line, use his pace, exploit any gaps left for him. Or if they started with Garnacho, I can see him doing the same thing, looking to really exploit any gaps that's left behind by Trent. and trying to hurt us on that counter attack. So I'd imagine, things like corners, for example. How will Liverpool set up? Will we have an idea in mind if they do decide that they want to play counter attacking against us? Will we see Liverpool going as gung-ho as we have done? In the previous video where I done the review for the Brentford game, we did see at some points Liverpool committing 9 players in and around the box with only sort of Virgil van Dijk left back. Will we see that against this Man United team, knowing their pace and how they will like to try and hurt us on the counter-attack? Or will we be a little bit more reserved, not committing so many players forward and instead relying on just the attacking players to try and get in and get that goal? I think that's what's going to be interesting. Personally, I'll be honest with you, I've kind of juggled it backwards and forwards in my head of what way I think we're playing, and I think we'll stick the same. I think if we get the opportunity to commit players forward, we will. I think at times we will see Liverpool being a bit more reserved, recycling possession, not looking like we were going to suddenly spring an attack on them, but instead just keeping the ball, taking the sting out of the game, controlling that midfield and that central area, and trying to frustrate Man United. I think if Man U do decide to get involved in a possession game and try and out-battle us at our own game, that plays into our hands. I think Man United, where they will have more joys if they do start to put pressure on players like Ryan Gravenberch, for example. I can see a world where they just stick... I can just see a world where they just stick, for example, Bruno Fernandes on Gravenberch and not let him have... Oh, sorry, not even Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount on Ryan Gravenberch, and saying to him, don't let him sort of dictate the play in the middle. Don't let him control the tempo. When he receives the ball, don't let him do that quick turn that he does. Instead, be on him constantly. Try and win the ball back, especially if Gravenberch is picking up the ball in sort of this type of area. I'd expect Mason Mount to be sort of like on him and closing him down and trying to really stop him from playing his game. So I think that that's what Man United will do, and then Liverpool will be looking to exploit any gaps that we can do. I'd imagine that whilst there will be times where we're controlling the game, we'll also look to exploit that quick passing that we've seen from Liverpool, those one-touch passes, get the ball in and then quickly lay it off. Building up play. So Gravenberch gets in, he quickly turns, he plays it out to Trent. Trent then plays it forward to Salah, back into Szoboszlai, into Jota, and try and create chances by just essentially one touch, and let's see what we can do. So I think that that's going to happen. I think what we will see is Liverpool dominating possession. I think that we will see Liverpool controlling the game, choosing when we're going to start to speed it up, when we're going to start to slow it down. I think we'll see very similar things. So, for example, again, I see centre-backs probably playing a bit wider to give Gravenberch this kind of room in the middle, with Trent coming more inside and Robertson not coming in as far as Trent, but sort of pushing himself further up so we can be that option to try and help get Diaz into the game. I think, looking at the game, the players that I think will be the most important is obviously going to be Gravenberch. He needs to have a good game in order for this to work for us. Him being that, not just the number 6 in terms of, he needs to get his tackles on point. He needs to make sure that, he's winning his duels, he's winning his fights, and, he's getting the ball. But also in terms of his ability to get the ball turned and progress it forward, we need to make sure that, he is getting that ball, he's turning on it with space, but also we're getting players, near him so that he has that passing option just in case Man U are going to start to press us with more than one player. I also think it's going to be a big game for Szoboszlai. I think that based on his performances so far, he has looked really good. I've been very impressed with the way that Szoboszlai started this season, especially when you look how he finished last season. It does seem to be, he's got that energy now, he's got that, I don't know if it's a belief or he's just got that, he's got that pep back in his step. So I think that he'll have a big game, especially not just in his ability to sort of create chances and attack, but how he's going to help cover us in defence. We've seen that when we've lost balls on counter-attacks, he's got that engine and that pace to sort of get back and defend, and I think that he'll need to do that quite a lot. I think we'll see him coming back and helping Trent out over here. I think that he'll need that engine to sort of be in and out, and then as well as Gravenberch, him using that engine and that athleticism to drive the ball forward and try and push us further forward. But I also think we'll need to have a big game from Konate. I think against Brentford, I did say that Konate was my man of the match, and I think that we need another man of the match performance from him, to be totally honest. I think that the way Man U will play, they'll look to exploit the right-hand side, knowing that Trent is going to be pushing forward, knowing that Trent is going to be coming inside and almost doubling up as another midfielder. So they'll be looking to get the ball down that right-hand side and let Rashford run at us. So I think Konate needs to have a big game in terms of not just controlling inside the middle, but getting out there when he needs to and preempting any danger that could potentially come. So those will be my 3 players that I think are the most important to Liverpool. Obviously, I'm still expecting big games from all players. So Robertson, I'd like to see him continue his form from the Brentford game. Diaz, I really want to see him now, take that Brentford game and then just bring that consistency that we've been wanting from him so much. I also expect to see players coming on. So I expect to see Darwin Núñez will feature again at some point. I think we'll see Gakpo at something. I think the game comes too early for Chiesa, so I don't think we'll see him. So that's kind of how I think the game's going to go. So match prediction. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet in this game. I do think Man U are going to score, but my match prediction is going to be 2-1 to Liverpool. I think that, if we can control the ball, if we can control the game, control the tempo, choose when we're going to speed it up, choose when we're going to slow it down. Be one of the things that Slot talks a lot about is not being so gung-ho and adventurous. Don't be risk versus reward. We don't need to play that killer ball every single time, and instead we can just stop and recycle the ball, keep possession. And I think that but we'll start off that way, and we'll probably go a goal up, and then that's when the game that will start to open up for us. I think if Man U start chasing the game, we'll then start to exploit some of the gaps, and then we can then look to control the game from there and go and get a second goal. Where I can see Man U scoring is on the break. I think that on the counter-attack, they still look dangerous. I know, for example, Rashford isn't having the best of times at the moment, but I think with the likes of Bruno Fernandes and the way that Xerxes started for them, I can see them hitting us on the counter-attack, and I think I can see them nicking a goal from us as well. So hopefully I'm right, and hopefully 2-1 would be a great result for us. I think realistically, judging where Liverpool are at the moment, obviously we all want to win, but I don't think a draw would be the end of the world for us. Slot's first season, going away to Old Trafford, they're going to have, their new signings coming out, and, they'll want to bounce back from that Brighton game, and they'll have a point to prove. So I think if we got a draw, I would be okay with that. Obviously delighted with the win. Definitely 100% think we should go for the win. But if it was a draw, I wouldn't be too disappointed. But yeah, that's enough from me. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the game? Do you think that it'll be, Liverpool controlling the game, or do you expect to see a much different game from Man United? How do you think they're going to play? How do you think they're going to line up? But more importantly, let me know your prediction for the score in the comments below. Again, like the video if you enjoyed it, drop a subscribe. Thank you so much for the comments that I've been getting recently. I've been getting some advice on what to do with the channel, how I should lay out the screens and stuff, and I'm definitely going to start to take that advice on board and do it in future videos. I'll be honest, I used to stream gameplay, so a lot of these scenes and screens that I've got are from when I used to play games, so I do need to tweak them, and I do need to make adjustments. So any suggestions you've got, they're more than welcome for how you think this can look better. But again, thank you very much for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and click on the little bell icon to know when I'll be uploading next. And I will speak to you all in the next one. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Goodbye.